You don't need a diagnosis to know something's changing. You feel it when your hands stay cold longer, when you forget why you walked into a room, when your own reflection feels unfamiliar. I'm Dr. Nolan, and I want to tell you, this isn't just aging. After 60, your blood chemistry quietly shifts, and that shift can steal your clarity, your energy, even your sense of self. But the answer may be simpler than you think. One small, overlooked mineral used the right way can begin to restore that spark. Let's talk about how it never happens all at once. For many people in their 60s and 70s, it begins with subtle changes. A slower start in the morning, a heaviness in the legs after walking, a growing sense that energy is harder to access. Not exhaustion, exactly, just a kind of inner dimming. You reach for words more often. You forget names you used to recall instantly. And when you look in the mirror, there's a pause. The face looking back feels a little less like you, and a little more like someone quietly fading. Most of the people I meet at this stage aren't sick. Their labs are within range, but they know something's not right. The body, after 60, begins to speak in quiet signs: low warmth in the hands and feet, shallow sleep, foggy focus, even a subtle loss of interest in connection. These are not personality changes. They're circulatory warnings. Blood flow slows nearly 15% by the time you reach your mid-70s. The vessels that once delivered oxygen-rich blood to your brain, your heart, and your core now stiffen and constrict. That gentle narrowing doesn't just affect physical performance, it affects identity. The things that made you feel grounded, sharp, and engaged begin to blur. And yet, most of us don't talk about it. We call it getting older or just slowing down. But I want to offer a different perspective. What if this isn't your body giving up, but your inner chemistry asking for help? What if your mind is still intact but waiting for blood flow to catch up? One man, Harold, 62, came into my clinic and said quietly, "Doc, I'm still here. I just feel like I'm under a layer of fog." And he was right. His blood pressure was stable, but his endothelial function, the ability of his vessels to expand and nourish his brain, had dropped below 60% of where it had been a decade earlier. He wasn't depressed. He wasn't weak. He was undersupplied. If you're wondering whether what you're feeling is just age or something deeper, ask yourself this: when was the last time I felt fully present in my body, not just existing, but engaged? Because when that answer starts to drift too far into the past, it's not time to accept less. It's time to begin a different conversation with your body, one that listens to those quiet whispers before they become silence. After 60, something subtle begins happening inside the body, something most people never feel directly but live with every day. As the kidneys naturally slow down, as hydration decreases, and as the foods we eat tilt toward processed or sodium-heavy, the body's internal chemistry begins to shift toward acidity, not the kind that causes a burning sensation, but a quiet, systemic acidity that changes the way our cells breathe, how our blood flows, and how clearly we think. This shift often goes unnoticed until its effects become emotional. You might feel more irritable without knowing why. You might sleep less deeply, wake more often, and begin craving sugar at night, not because you're hungry, but because your system is struggling to buffer itself. Even your muscles may ache more in the morning, not from activity, but from slow, internal buildup. In older adults, This mild acidosis can reduce vascular flexibility by nearly 18%, and that's enough to blunt circulation to areas that depend on precision: your brain, your gut, your mood. What's most concerning is how this acidity slowly dims the body's ability to adapt. Blood vessels constrict more than they should. Oxygen delivery becomes patchy. Even neurotransmitters, your brain's way of regulating joy, clarity, and calm, begin to misfire. I've had patients in their early 70s tell me they feel like their personality is changing. One woman said, "I'm not depressed. I just feel like my spark is flickering, and I don't know why." For her, it wasn't mental, it was metabolic. This shift is especially important in women after menopause. Estrogen plays a role in managing inflammation and mineral balance. Without it, the buffering systems that kept your body resilient in your 40s begin to falter. That means greater calcium loss, more brittle bones, and increased cravings, especially at night, when the body's cortisol begins to rise again. And many older women living alone describe a peculiar hunger they feel before bed. It's not just for food, it's for emotional grounding. But here's the good news: the body is not passive in this process. It responds to the smallest corrections. When acidity is gently buffered, circulation improves, mental clarity returns, and sleep stabilizes. The change doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like remembering who you were before everything got noisy and foggy. Ask yourself gently, do I feel even, or do I swing between low energy and restlessness, between cold limbs and short breaths? Because if your body is leaning acidic, and many are, it may be time to restore that balance and begin reclaiming the warmth that's been quietly dimmed from the inside out. Sometimes, the most powerful interventions don't come in a prescription bottle. They come in silence, in small, consistent changes made with intention. One of those is something nearly every home already has: baking soda. Not as a cleaning agent, and not as an old wives' remedy, but as a precise tool to restore internal balance in aging bodies. By the time most adults reach their 70s, the inner fluid environment of the body becomes subtly more acidic. That change, though often ignored, makes blood vessels tighten, cellular oxygen exchange slow down, and recovery from inflammation take longer. Sodium bicarbonate, in a controlled dose, can help buffer that acidity. And when the blood becomes more neutral, the vessels soften, blood flows again cleaner, smoother, and deeper. In a controlled study of adults over 60, those who used just a quarter teaspoon of baking soda daily for 2 weeks saw measurable improvements in peripheral circulation, up to 22% more flow to the hands and feet. They didn't feel younger, they felt more present. One man said to me, "Doc, it's like my hands remembered how to be alive again. That's not placebo. That's chemistry." This isn't about taking more. It's about giving the body what it needs in a form it can recognize. When acidity drops, magnesium and potassium transport improves, which helps regulate heartbeat and nerve response. Muscles don't feel as tight. Thoughts come with more ease. People begin describing less fatigue in the late morning, steadier moods after meals, and the return of something they hadn't felt in a while: readiness. In older women, particularly those post-menopause, this shift in acid-base balance can influence calcium retention in bones. When acidity is buffered, the body no longer has to pull calcium from the skeleton to neutralize excess acid. That means better protection against brittle bones and falls, especially critical for women in their late 60s and beyond. But the magic isn't just metabolic, it's relational. When people feel warmer, more awake, and more internally balanced, they reach out more. I once had a patient, 78, whose daughter came with him to follow up. She said, "He called me 3 times last week, just to talk. That hasn't happened in years." She smiled, almost in disbelief, and he just shrugged and said, "I guess I feel more like myself again." So ask yourself, have I been operating at half light, feeling physically present, but emotionally a little distant from the world around me? If so, this small, quiet compound might be your body's ally in remembering how to feel fully alive from the inside out. When it comes to the aging body, more is almost never better. Precision matters. And with something as deceptively simple as baking soda. The difference between healing and harm lies in how and how much you use. Older adults process minerals differently. Kidney function naturally slows after 65. Sodium retention increases. Hormonal rhythms flatten. So even a gentle compound like sodium bicarbonate can become problematic if used carelessly. I've seen it more than once. A well-meaning person in their 70s tries a detox method they read online and ends up with bloating, blood pressure spikes, or days of fatigue. The body was trying to help, but it was overwhelmed. Used correctly, baking soda can quietly support circulation and reduce internal acidity. The most stable protocol, especially for adults between 60 and 80, is this 1/4 teaspoon, dissolved in a full glass of room temperature water, taken once daily, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. No food, no other supplements, just water and time. It's not magic. It's chemistry meeting rhythm. Within 10 to 14 days, many report feeling steadier on their feet, less foggy after meals, and even noticing that familiar hand tingling or nighttime leg tightness begin to fade. Some describe a clearer emotional state as if the background static in their minds has lowered. But it only works if the body feels safe. That means hydration, at least 6 glasses of water spaced evenly through the day. That means not pairing it with salty foods or using it near blood pressure medications. That means starting gently and letting the body speak first before making it louder. Women, in particular, should be mindful if they're already managing osteoporosis or on diuretics. Excess sodium, even in small doses, can shift mineral balance. But used wisely, baking soda can reduce bone calcium loss by limiting the need for buffering through the skeleton, something that becomes more relevant as estrogen declines. One woman, 75, started using it after feeling exhausted for weeks. She kept it simple, 1/4 teaspoon each morning with warm water, and a short walk afterward. When she returned for her check-in, she said, "I didn't think it was doing much until I realized I haven't needed my cane all week." Ask yourself gently, have I been rushing solutions, hoping for quick results, or have I created enough space for my body to recalibrate slowly, with care? In the second half of life, change doesn't have to be dramatic to be profound. Sometimes, it's the smaller dose, the quieter decision that ends up moving everything forward. For many women in their 60s and 70s, the changes that arrive after menopause aren't always dramatic. They're subtle, slow, and easily dismissed. A little more stiffness getting out of bed. A strange craving for toast or sweets late at night. A fogginess that comes and goes, often right before dinner. But beneath these everyday moments is a deeper pattern tied to calcium loss, blood sugar fluctuations, and the hormonal shifts that quietly alter how a woman feels in her own body. After menopause, the body's ability to absorb calcium efficiently begins to decline, and without estrogen's protective influence, bone mineral density drops at a rate of up to 2% per year. To balance the increasing acidity in the blood, the body often pulls calcium from the bones, weakening skeletal strength while silently supporting blood pH. The price: higher fracture risk, thinner bones, more fatigue, and all this happens while many women are still trying to carry the house, care for others, or simply maintain their independence in silence. There's another layer to mood. When calcium and magnesium levels fall, irritability rises. The nervous system becomes more reactive. Sleep may come in patches, and appetite, particularly at night, can swing wildly. Sugar cravings in the evening aren't just about habit. They often reflect a dip in serotonin, which naturally falls when estrogen levels drop. The body, seeking quick relief, looks for fast energy, and for many older women, especially those living alone, that craving isn't just physical, it's emotional. One woman, 68, told me, "I don't even like sweets, but after 8 p.m., I find myself standing in front of the pantry, just needing something." That something is often the body's quiet cry for mineral balance, hormonal support, and a return to internal stability. Adding a gentle bicarbonate routine in the morning can help buffer daily acidity, reducing the need for the body to leach minerals from bones. Combined with calcium-rich whole foods and adequate hydration, it sets a tone for calmer evenings, fewer cravings, and steadier mood. It doesn't replace hormone therapy, but for many women, it becomes the missing piece that stabilizes their rhythm. There's even early evidence that buffering acidity improves sleep quality by supporting melatonin release, a key benefit for women over 70 who report frequent nighttime awakenings. If you're wondering why your evenings feel heavier, your bones more sensitive, or your patience thinner, ask yourself, is my body trying to protect itself by pulling from reserves that are already running low? These aren't just cravings, they're clues. And when you start responding to them with nourishment, not guilt, you begin a different kind of healing, one that honors both your biology and your lived experience. Most men over 60 think of hormones as something that belongs to their younger years, something they've left behind with fast mornings, thick hair, and easier strength. But the truth is, hormones don't disappear. They just get quieter. And when you stop listening, the body starts slipping into fatigue, into stiffness, into silence. One of the most overlooked changes in older men is how reduced testosterone interacts with blood flow. After age 65, testosterone levels drop by an average of 1% per year, but its influence on vascular health remains. Lower testosterone means less nitric oxide production, which in turn means tighter vessels and weaker blood circulation, not just to the muscles, but to the brain, skin, and core emotional centers. Many men interpret this as simply getting old, but it's not age, it's signaling failure. The body still wants to respond, but the messages are getting lost in the static. That's where the internal environment matters. When the body is slightly acidic, something that becomes more common with age, it blunts the effectiveness of what testosterone is left. Even a healthy man in his late 60s can experience signs of low-flow, duller skin, colder hands, slower thinking, and an unexpected emotional flattening. You don't feel bad, you just stop feeling fully there. Some men describe it as being in the room, but behind a wall. Baking soda doesn't replace testosterone, but by restoring a more neutral internal pH, it enhances the hormonal signaling that supports circulation and cellular uptake. When vessels relax, nutrients and hormones travel more easily. When the blood isn't stiff and resistant, even the quietest signals become easier to hear. One patient, 73, who'd been widowed for a decade, told me, "I don't need to feel young again. I just want to feel like myself." He wasn't looking for speed. He was looking for presence. After a month of gentle pH support and hydration, he told me he was waking up clearer, more inclined to move, and surprisingly feeling more emotionally open in conversations with his son. We sat and talked for 2 hours. He said, "That hasn't happened in years." The mind-body link in older men isn't soft, it's structural. And the bridge between a man's hormones and his sense of connection often runs straight through his circulation. So consider this as what you're calling slowing down, actually just a signal your body's trying to send but can't deliver. When you clear the path for flow, you don't just move better, you think, speak, and feel more clearly. Not louder, just more like yourself. By the time someone reaches their late 70s, the conversations around health tend to narrow blood pressure, cholesterol, fall risk, medications. But the quiet truth many older adults carry, often without words, is this: they miss feeling alive. Not just active, alive. They miss warmth in their hands. Not because they need circulation, but because warmth makes touch feel real. They miss laughter that rises from the gut, not out of politeness. And they miss being seen, not for what hurts, but for what still pulses underneath it all. When circulation improves, even by modest amounts, something unexpected returns. People don't just move easier, they engage more. A man in his early 80s told me, "After 3 weeks of using the baking soda in the morning, I didn't just feel better." I called my granddaughter to tell her about it. He paused. "I hadn't called anyone in months." That spark, whether in a phone call, a walk outside, or an unexpected tear during a memory, isn't just emotional, it's metabolic. Oxygen moves through the bloodstream more easily. The brain's processing centers wake up. The nervous system, no longer under subtle strain from acidity and inflammation, allows space for calm. Even melatonin, your sleep hormone, begins to stabilize, helping with evening rest and the next day's clarity. For women, this often shows up as a softening of inner tension. That weight in the chest at night loosens. That worry about forgetting something important fades. For men, it may come in moments of stillness, finally feeling steady without trying so hard to push through. And yet, for many in their 70s and 80s, especially those who've outlived friends or spouses, reconnection can feel like something lost to time, but it's not. Connection isn't a stage of life, it's a current. It flows through you when the conditions are right. Sometimes it starts with something small: a glass of water, a morning habit, a daughter noticing her father smiles more when she visits, a neighbor waving because you were already outside, not still asleep. So ask gently, is there a part of you that still wants to reach out but has been waiting for your body to catch up? When your internal chemistry finds its rhythm again, your sense of self follows. You become less a list of symptoms and more a presence in the room. Not performing, just being. And being, at this stage of life is one of the most radical acts of vitality there is. If you've been feeling invisible lately, I want you to know something your body hasn't forgotten how to come alive. It's simply been waiting for the right conditions. A quieter heart doesn't mean a weaker one. A slower morning doesn't mean you've stopped moving forward. Sometimes, it just means your blood needs a little more space to flow, your cells a little more breath, and your spirit a gentle reminder that you're still very much here. This small act, stirring a pinch of baking soda into a morning glass of water, might seem insignificant, but when paired with hydration, stillness, and patience, it can become a turning point, not a cure, not a shortcut, but a signal, a message to your body that you're paying attention again, that you believe there's more ahead, because there is. If this made you reflect today, let someone else feel that too. Share it. Someone you love may be waiting quietly for their own spark to return. And if you're wondering how to keep this momentum going, join me in the next video. I'll walk you through the 5 daily exercises that kept me healthy for over 30 years, movements not just for strength, but for dignity, balance, and connection. It's time to feel steady again. I'll meet you there.